Hello guys, Moidale here. One of the main things you do in Classic World of Warcraft is kill stuff. A lot of stuff. Whether it's an angry plant, a moldy and smelly ghoul, or a big stupid monkey, that thing is going down one way or the other. As long as it provides experience, gear, gold and or glory, nothing is safe from the hungry neckbeard's wrath. Unfortunately for the neckbeard, Blizzard didn't want us to have such an easy time, so they put a number of particularly frustrating, overpowered, malicious, murlocs or whatever word you might use, creatures in the game. Today we look at some of those creatures, pray for those that encounter them in game every day, and try to cleanse the past trauma they've caused ourselves. We start off with the Anvilrage Officer from the Blackrock Depths. It's a familiar face to a lot of people, I'm sure, but not a very welcome familiar face. The Anvilrage Officer is notorious and hated for his Divine Shield ability, which gives 8 seconds of immunity. The officers use it at low HP, and to make matters worse, they have a healing ability they use in combination with it all the time. Not only do you have to wait the 8 seconds unless you stunlock and burst down the officer quickly, but you have to stand and watch how he heals himself as well, and you can't do anything about it. It's a test of patience, and the fact that the officer comes in groups with 4 other elites doesn't make the encounter any more pleasant. Up next we have the risen aberrations from Scholomance that I have a very personal dislike towards. They are non-elite and often appear in big groups of other skeletons and elites. And the catch with the risen aberrations is that they're immune to all types of spell damage except for holy. As a mage in Classic, it hurts not being able to follow my instincts and throw AoE spells at a group of 5 or 6 mobs. They also pretty much require you to bring at least one physical damage dealer, or you'll be re-evaluating your life when you have a group of spellcasters trying to melee down the skeletons with a weapon skill of 50. As a tank, they are a great nuisance as well, with immunity to abilities such as Thunderclap. The risen aberrations also use a weird spell called Fixate. I have never noticed it in-game myself until recently, and the wording on the tooltip is a bit confusing. It is cast by the skeletons, and it will cause the target to fixate on the caster, making them very reluctant to attack anything else. If it's used on the tank and you are unable to attack other mobs than the one skeleton you're fixated on, holding aggro on multiple mobs is suddenly a near impossible task. The risen aberrations stall the encounter just like the Anvilrage Officers do, and if I can't curse them in-game, I for sure will curse at them in real life anytime I encounter them. While we're in Scholomance and speaking about stalling encounters, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the reanimated corpses. Those are the zombies you have to kill once, wait what feels like a long time for them to reanimate, and then kill again. How many lives do those goddamn wretches have? They've already died once to become zombies, haven't they? And now you're killing them twice more. Let's move away from the endgame stuff and look at some lower level NPCs. And yes, I've got not one but 2 terrible creatures for you. They are the elder Plainstriders in Mulgore and the Kolkar Drudges in Durotar. You might be thinking what they have in common and what's so bad about them. Let me explain. They both cast one of the most annoying spells for the melee classes. It is Dust Cloud, which reduces your chance to hit by 30% for 12 seconds. Just in case you weren't already missing enough attacks, here's a minus 30% hit chance for you. The feeling of missing multiple attacks in a row, especially with slow weapons, is horrible, and Dust Cloud plays into that exact situation. The worst case is when you and your target are both low HP, and you only need that one last swing to secure the kill, but instead end up missing 4 times in a row and dying. Those are the moments the IKEA desk department loves, when you channel your inner warrior and break your desk like you spent 5 points in the improved slam talent. Speaking of warrior spells, I feel the need to mention the Witchwing Slayers found in the Barrens. They are one type of a small group of creatures in Classic that use the Execute ability. Others include the Soulflats Scavengers and the Wildbranch Sculptors. The reason I mention the Witchwing Slayers in particular is that they're the lowest level by far and the biggest noob slayers, and I clearly remember a friend's encounter with them on the day of Classic WoW's release. He fell prey to the Harpy's Execute ability, getting basically one shot at 20% HP from the impression I got by a gigantic Execute critical strike. He was not happy. He played and still plays a warrior, and it's not unusual to go very low HP after a fight with a creature as that class. I like to stretch my HP resources thin as well, and there are few things worse than the unexpected execute that kills you out of nowhere when you thought you had plenty of HP left. It can almost make you paranoid, worrying about every creature and having that fear, what if it has execute? It is akin to psychological terror by Blizzard, totally evil. We now move to another type and place of evil, Shadowfang Keep, and look at the undead creature haunted Servitor. The Servitor is an elite mob, and the encounters with the mob itself aren't a big deal or anything special. The problem is the curse the Servitors put on you called Haunting Spirits. The name might not sound familiar, but the effect is certainly very memorable for all the wrong reasons. It will spawn low HP ghosts during the curse's duration that attack you and your group. The ghosts deal no further damage, they cause spell pushback and are just annoying in general. Not only that, they spawn relatively frequently as well, and from my own experience, it's not uncommon for every single member of your group to be affected by the Haunting Spirit's curse after a couple of fights with the haunted servitors. They seem to cast the spell quite frequently from my own experience, although I haven't done many SFK runs in Classic. Luckily, the spell can be decursed, but if you have no mage or druid over level 24 in your group, you're in for a very long and tiresome Shadowfang Keep run. I'd say it's almost essential to have a person that can decurse, and even then you'll likely have to remind them to decurse you from time to time. Just the thought of having the debuff and knowing that a ghost can appear any moment out of nowhere and start slapping you is greatly irritating, like having a fly buzz around your head constantly. Having a swarm of insects or bugs in your face is almost as annoying in-game as it is in real life. At least when you're up against the swarmer creature type. The Silithid, Hazzali and Centipaar swarmers have an ability called Silithid Swarm, where they spawn small level 1 bugs that attack you for 1 damage. They aren't a big deal for the melee classes, but for any caster they can be a major headache. The little buggers will cause spell pushback, so if you don't deal with them appropriately, you'll be casting 15-second long shadow bolts. It's not that the bugs are hard to kill, but you have to focus them specifically, and it can be like a whole hive coming at you. Of the caster classes, mages probably have the easiest time dealing with them since they can use Arcane Explosion, but they're still a nuisance and spawn at different intervals, so you can hardly expect to pull off your normal rotation. For Shadow Priest, we're talking raid boss levels of difficulty since you have no AoE spells and are heavily reliant on Mind Blast and Mind Flay, both of which will be messed up by spell pushback. We're moving up in level and looking at the Eastern Plaguelands' Noxious Plaguebats. A common theme of the video so far is that the spells a creature uses are more annoying than the creature itself, and the Noxious Plaguebat is no exception to that. It casts the spell Slowing Poison, which decreases your movement speed by up to 66% and attack speed by 25% for 25 seconds. All the Plaguebats in the Eastern Plaguelands have frustrating and painful abilities, but this takes the prize for me. I'm sure a lot of Horde players have maybe not so fond memories of doing the quest Unlife's Little Annoyances from Nathana's Blightcaller, where you have to kill 20 Noxious Plaguebats. For any melee class, the attack speed slow is horrible and the duration is 25 seconds. The movement speed decrease is arguably worse and annoying for anybody. 66% is a substantial decrease, and you have to be very tilt-proof not to let it get to you after you're slowed for the 15th time, and feel like making your monitor green from puke just like your green poisoned character in-game. In the future, if I go up against those goddamn bats, I have to bring some elixirs of poison resistance for my own sanity, I think, if I'm not playing a class that can otherwise cure poisons. Another aspect of the slowing poison is that you can't afford to aggro any Noxious Plaguebats if you're just riding past on your mount. Usually aggroing a few mobs if you can avoid getting dazed is no big deal, but the Plaguebat will slow you and you will hate your life when your character is all green and you're riding at what feels like almost RP walking speed for the next 25 seconds. The Noxious Plaguebats are not the only creatures to use the slowing poison spell, but they're the ones that stand out the most to me. The movement speed decrease varies from creature to creature as well, and I'm fairly certain it depends on the level of the creature. The higher the level, the worse and more agonizing the slow. The video wouldn't be complete without everyone's favorite molten core piece of trash, the Firewalker. The Firewalker uses the Fire Blossom ability to deal massive single target fire damage that can almost one-shot any caster, and if it's a critical strike, you're pretty much done so. If only the Firewalkers used their ability a few times during an encounter with predictable targets, everything would be fine, but that's far from the case. The Firewalker throws fireballs in intervals left and right at machine gun speed like it's on a caffeine craze, and the targets appear to be totally random. The Fire Blossom spell has no cast time, and the range is wide enough that nobody engaged in action with the Firewalker can feel safe. The worst part about the Firewalker is its unpredictable behavior, and I don't think I can count how many people, including myself, I've seen die or nearly die in the Molten Core from it. The Fire Blossom spell is truly the bane of all buffs, and it absolutely sucks getting one-shot out of nowhere from a wild fireball slammed in your face and losing all your world buffs to a trash mob. The other thing about the Firewalker is that it has little counterplay, and it's a pain in the butt for the whole raid regardless of class or role. For a lot of our previous mobs, you can play around them and their abilities, but getting roasted by a Fire Blossom crit to your face is just unfair. My main is a mage, so I can use Firewall to try to protect myself somewhat and absorb a bit of damage, but I don't think I'll survive a critical strike anyways. I remember some particularly unfortunate members of my guild discussing that they might as well pop some fire protection potions for the Firewalker trash packs, since the repair costs of dying repeatedly are higher than the potion costs anyways. That's when you know you're dealing with a true piece of garbage trash mob. So, that concludes my list of the worst and most frustrating mobs in Classic World of Warcraft. If you have any funny stories with any of them or other mobs that you feel should have been included, feel free to share them in the comments. I could probably have made a longer list, and maybe I'll do a part 2 if I stumble upon more annoying mobs while I level my druid that I'm playing at the moment. The mobs I included in the video are all ones I have first-hand experience with, and those that have left the biggest negative impression on me while playing the game. It's not all doom and gloom though, and I'm actually happy that some of those mobs exist. First of all, it's fun complaining about them, and I think it's something very relatable to a lot of people. Going back and laughing at some horrible times you had killing a certain mob is healthy, I think, and they probably weren't that horrible after all. Plus, we are playing Classic World of Warcraft, so we don't want things to be too easy. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, everybody.